Good morning to one and all.
Good morning.
We are here for the AICTE ISTE sponsored refresher induction program on value-based education system, current and future scenario. We are here for the day 3, session 1, titled Good Touch and Bad Touch in Education. It's going to be delivered by Dr. Retd Swaminathan, retired professor, University of Madras. We're happy to have you, sir.
Thank you.
Now I request Dr. R. Murugan, Professor, Department of Mechanical Engineering, Panimalar Institute of Technology, to introduce the guest for us.
Thank you, Amos. So, it is my honor to introduce our guest speaker of today's session, Dr. Retd Swaminathan, to the participants. Dr. Swaminathan has completed his bachelor's degree in psychology in the year 1975. He did his master's and MPhil and completed his PhD also in the area of psychology. He completed his PhD in the year 1985 from the University of Madras. Since 1980, he actively engaged in research. So far, 21 PhD scholars and 42 MPhil scholars have been successfully guided by him. 45 research articles have been published in national and international journals. 16 articles in Tamil on various aspects of human behavior have been published in Tamil Encyclopedia, completed by Tamil University at Tanjore. 2 books have been published, and they are Psychology for Effective Living, Principles of Psychology in Women's Studies, Obstetrics and Gynecology. He has been successfully completed 2 UGC sponsored minor research projects worth around rupees 75 lakhs. His teaching experience since 1987 has been working in the Department of Psychology as a faculty in various capacities, starting from lecturer to the professor. So he has been teaching the many subjects. So to name a few: research methodology, psychological statistics, behavior modification, psychopathology, psychology for human resource development, training and development, psychometry, basic psychology, and he has taught many subjects for PG and MPhil students at the University of Madras. He has many administrative skill and experience. So to name a few, he has officiated as Director of Academic Staff College at the University of Madras for 6 months in the year 2001. He has officiated as the Director of the University Students Advisory Bureau at the University of Madras from 2007 to 2009. He has officiated Director of the University Center for International Relations at the University of Madras from 2011 to 2013. He has officiated as the head for a newly created academic department, that is Department of Social Work, from 2014 to 2017. He worked in private hospital as a consultant psychologist from 1980 to 1982. He served the Juvenile Guidance Bureau, Chennai, on honorary basis 1982 to 1987. He worked as a psychologist on honorary basis in the Institute of Speech and Hearing at the Government General Hospital, Chennai, from 1985 to 1986. So it is our pleasure to welcome you for this session, Professor.
Thank you.
I hand over the session to Professor Swaminathan.
Thanks a lot, Professor Murugan, and every other colleague who stands by him in organizing this refresher induction program on value-based education. Thank you, Professor Murugan.
Welcome, sir. Welcome.
Welcome. I place on record my gratitude to Panimalar Institute of Technology for this opportunity, and I would like to, tell all the participants two, things pretty clearly before I move on to my slides. First one, definitely, I will give enough and more time for you to interact with me soon after I finish my presentation. Probably in between also, I may invite one or two observations just to make sure that you are with me. I'm not able to see your face for technical reasons, but at the same time, I guess all of you are able to hear my voice and words. Just one participant can represent the group. Are you able to hear my voice?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I think that colleague of ours represents all the participants. Good. And second, sort of condition that I would like to emphasize here is that, exactly at 10:30 a.m. my session will come to an end. I do not intend extending this session even by a nanosecond beyond 10:30. For this, I solicit your cooperation, and all those who would like to clarify certain other things, if it is going to exceed the time limit, then I invite their attention to the email ID, which is there on the screen right now in front of you. So you can very well get in touch with me through mail, and I am there to honor your mail. Anyway, with this preamble, let me move on to the session as such. Well, here I'd like to begin my presentation with the lexical meaning of the word touch. The moment we say touch, the first thing that comes to our mind is contact. So, in fact, it can be used as more or less a synonym, as a synonym, that is as a rough meaning for the word touch, either to be in contact with something or to cause to be in contact with something. Either it can be a direct contact or it can be through another medium. You get in touch with somebody, you contact somebody. In fact, that is the superficial meaning of the word touch. Uh, why should we touch? Because only through touch do we, establish bonding. We'll have to bind ourselves, effectively with the academic community, through the academic community to every other segment of society. So, in fact, we'll have to raise our collars up because we belong to that noble profession called teaching. Along with teaching, research also has to be done by us. In fact, though certain objections may be raised justifiably because teaching and research may not go hand in hand. But anyway, should there be any confusion regarding this, I think we will sort it out as far as possible. But being an academician itself, I think, is something which should make us feel proud of our own selves, because it is indeed the noblest profession. Though medical profession is eulogized as the noblest profession, I would say with proud pride that even doctors are being produced by teachers. So, in my opinion, teaching is the noblest profession, probably nobler than the noblest profession called medical profession. Therefore, we should be grateful to all those people who have made us academicians. So that's because of the bonding that we need to establish with our students in particular, and through students to every other segment of the population. So bonding is essentially meant for integration of various entities in a system. So society itself is a system called social system. Therefore, unless and otherwise we gel well with society, I think we lose out on so many things. Therefore, bonding becomes inevitable. It becomes quite essential. All right. What are the domains of touch? In fact, touch, I do not want to profess English here. That's not my domain. But at the same time, somewhere I think all of us have been taught English, Tamil, or whatever language which we have taken up as our first language or second language. And coming back to the English grammar as such, touch is noun, and that becomes much more glorious and meaningful when we add one adjective to it. So, academic touch, psychological touch, social touch, physical touch. The moment we say touch, most of us will think of only physical touch, but actually the scope of touch, has to be extended beyond the mere physical aspect. That's why, I have included academic, psychological, social, and now electronic touch. So through technology, we bond ourselves. Am I right or wrong, my dear colleagues? Am I right or wrong?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. I suppose all of you are wide awake, because at 9 o'clock no one can afford to sleep unless otherwise, some people get up from bed after 9 o'clock, that too on Sunday, and the spillover effect of Sunday, I think, should have disappeared by now. Correct? Am I right? Is there anybody who is entertaining sleep now? Dear participants, your response to my query. Are all of you awake? Gosh. Professor Murugan. Sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, unless otherwise, no, the response comes from your side. I think I won't be able to proceed further. So, so you're all alike, because now we touch ourselves, we touch each other electronically. All right. So,
Correct. Correct.
very good. Good. So, based on domains, I came out with my own taxonomy classification, like starting from academic and for now ending with electronic. But the same word touch can be described dichotomously, like good or bad. Good touch is what we need to promote. Bad touch is what we need to prevent. All right. Good touch is positive, healthy, and desirable. Therefore, it has to be promoted. Whereas bad touch is diametrically opposite, exactly opposite. It is negative. If good touch is positive, bad touch is negative. If good touch is healthy, bad touch is unhealthy. If good touch is desirable, bad touch is undesirable. Therefore, we have to remember good touch more than the bad touch, so that we do not go anywhere near bad touch. What for do we need to concentrate on academic touch? The one and only reason is the one and only aim, which can be expanded meaningfully as we go deep into the first aim, the main aim, namely development of innate abilities. Every one of us is endowed with lot of abilities. There is a saying which, I think I can quote now: every cloud has a silver lining. Therefore, no human being is a waste. Even from waste products, even from garbage, one can generate energy. As technologists, as academicians in the field of engineering and technology, I think you'll be able to throw more light on this aspect. But drawing a lesson from that, saying every cloud has a silver lining, I think we can take our discussion meaningfully forward. As human beings in general, as academicians in particular, I think it is our bounden duty to develop the innate abilities of our students. Why do we need to develop them? Because the ultimate aim of anyone in one's lifespan is to become self-reliant and, if possible, selfless as well. And education helps us achieve this ultimate goal of self-reliance and selflessness. In fact, I do not want to come out with the Rig Veda verse verbatim. The rough translation of Rig Veda is that education makes an individual self-reliant and selfless. By selfless, I do not mean anyway selfishness. In fact, selfishness is the opposite of selflessness. As we educate ourselves, we enlighten ourselves. Enlightenment will definitely enable us to transcend to the highest level so that the boundaries of self, start disappearing. In fact, every one of us, unfortunately, becomes highly conscious of our status. Well, on one side, we can be conscious of our status. I am so and so. I am Professor so and so. I am Doctor so and so. Well, Professor, Doctor, all these attachments come because of education. There is no doubt at all. But this should not prevent us from, interacting with others. It is with a heavy heart I am sharing this unpleasant experience which almost all of us go through. The moment we get one degree, probably we think a world of themselves, particularly one of the highest degrees, PhD. We think of ourselves so grand that we may tend to look down upon others. In fact, education should not make us do that. That inequality will have to be reduced, and that is why the boundaries that we create for ourselves in course of time will have to dissipate so that self becomes almost one with society, and in the process society becomes an integral part of self. So that is the ultimate aim, and education should help us achieve that aim. In fact, how many of you are from Tamil Nadu? Is there anybody from states other than Tamil Nadu?
Yes, Professor. Many participants are outside Tamil Nadu.
Okay. In fact, for the benefit of our colleagues from other states, I'd like to make a mention of one of the greatest poets come saints whom Tamil Nadu has produced so far is Saint Thiruvalluvar. In fact, he is non-controversial, and he has come out with 1,330 couplets. Each couplet is so meaningful and so relevant that it is bound to enrich all spheres of life. Therefore, I'd like to make a mention of that saint who has said, education has its impact, definitely positive impact, on the individual for 7 generations. He says for 7 births. To put it verbatim, ஒருமைக்கண் தான் கற்ற கல்வி ஒருவர்க்கு எழுமையும் ஏமா புடைத்து. In fact, rough translation of what is said in Tamil is what I have mentioned in English down below. Education has its impact on the individual for 7 births. In fact, as a psychologist, I would say, it is generation. If I am, educated, truly educated, I underline the word truly educated, the impact of it will be seen on my progeny. My children will get the benefit of it almost as much as I get. In fact, they will add their own education and it should become much better. In fact, in psychology, we call it Flin Effect. Almost all of you will agree with me if I say this. Our children are more intelligent than ourselves. Always, people of the subsequent generation will be more intelligent than people of the previous generation. In fact, it is sort of an evolutionary process, and this is called Flin Effect. All right. So education accelerates this intellectual development, probably personality development in general. Efficacy of academic touch depends upon as many as 5 sets of factors, and it depends upon the integration. In fact, we cannot afford to look at these 5 sets of factors independently. In fact, they interact with each other so much. The interaction effect is what we ultimately get as the fruits of academic touch. First and foremost, curriculum. And in the curriculum, how we need to frame the curriculum. And again, there will be good touch and bad touch as we frame the curriculum. But the delivery agents are none other than teachers. Therefore, teachers should be all the more aware of the good touch and bad touch, not only while framing the curriculum, but much more so while delivering the curriculum. And students, without students, teachers do not exist. Without students, education institutions do not exist. So students also play a vital role. And we teachers will have to lead students by example. Action speaks louder than words. And it is just not curriculum, teachers and students, and the process which goes along with the teaching process and learning process also contribute to the efficacy of academic touch. And of course, the rest of the factors are called miscellaneous factors, where we will have to include parents of students and then media factors. So many other things get into the miscellaneous category. Well, now let us see good touch and bad touch in the academic scenario. Good touch I'll present first, and in contrast, the bad touch will come. If it is going to be a well-structured, it must be updated. It is not outdated. It's slip of my, it is slip, I admit consciously. It must be a well-structured and updated curriculum is good touch. Whereas the bad touch will be ill-structured and obsolete curriculum. All right. Sorry for the mistake that I have, inadvertently committed. So it is updated, not outdated. And good touch in the curriculum should be career-oriented. In fact, it is just not for the sake of knowledge that we frame the curriculum. It is for grooming the individual to make a significant progress from time to time in one's career. Whereas if the curriculum is going to be a disoriented one, I think it is bad touch. And while coming to teachers as such, teachers should have passion for teaching profession and for the subject. Here I'd like to just interrupt for a while. One of you can represent the entire group. Do all of you have taken up teaching as your choice, or just by chance did you become teacher? A question, sir. How many of you enjoy the process of teaching? My good heavens, not even one voice. Do you like teaching?
Professor, actually, I just share my experience. After my UG, I worked 2 years in industry. Then I realized I maybe work efficiently in the teaching field. Then I shifted to teaching career. After joining the teaching, I think we developed a passion towards it.
Okay. I think it is Professor Murugan's voice.
Yes, Professor.
Very good, Professor Murugan. That's why I know you are organizing this program. I'll be happy to hear the voice of a participant. Of course, you are participating very actively. You are leading the participants by example. But I know in case I get another voice representing the group, I'll be all the more happy. Thank you for responding to my query.
Yes,
I want to make sure that participants are with us.
they are expressing through chat, sir.
Okay.
I'll read out the message. One Professor Vinata Sai, sir, joined by chance, but I live teaching, he expressed.
Thanks a lot, Professor Murugan, for being the Vayam medium. And I thank that colleague of ours for coming out with an apt responsible. Kudos to that response. And I will proceed further now, because in fact, every now and then I have a lot of, posts which tell me whether I should proceed or not. And now I get green signal, bright green signal to go ahead with my presentation. So the back touch, especially on the part of teachers, will be lack of interest in teaching and the subject matter. All right, if they are going to say that it's a curse that I have taken up teaching, I think it is undoubtedly a bad one. All right, and inspiration by teachers is a good touch, whereas ever grumbling teacher, I think will go to the other side. That is, that touch of teacher will definitely be a bad one. In fact, I always say there are 4 grades of teachers. Grade 1 inspires, that's a good touch, and probably not equally good, but somewhat good is grade 2 teachers who guide students. Grade 1 inspires students. Grade 2 teachers guide students. Grade 3 also is not as bad as grade 4, but definitely bad in comparison to the first 2 grades. Grade 3 explains, but grade 4 complains. So in fact, grade 4 teacher will go to the side of the bad touch. And good conduct of teachers in and off the lecture hall, I would like to highlight this point, because of late I do not know about other states. I'm blissfully ignorant. As long as I am ignorant, I think I may be happy within inverted commas, but it is not real happiness. But I think colleagues who are from Tamil Nadu will definitely agree with me, because as per the media reports, many teachers, both in school education and in higher education, are quoted for wrong reasons. In fact, they specialize in sexual harassment of their gullible students. In fact, it is not only in the lecture hall. Generally, they may not do so, but 1 or 2 teachers have been caught red-handed. But off the lecture hall, many teachers start exploiting, the innocence and the helplessness of student population, and that is something to be avoided. Criminal conduct of teachers in and off the lecture hall is definitely a bad touch, whereas good conduct of teachers in and off the lecture hall is a positive touch. And feedback mechanism is an integral part of the teaching learning processes. And unless and otherwise, the teacher at regular intervals gives correct feedback and makes sure that the learners are with the teacher, I think it's a good touch. Whereas bad touch, is definitely a defective one. In fact, the more we discuss about it, the more defects will start flowing out of every one of our mouths. And the purpose of education, the purpose of examination is not to know what the students do not know. The purpose of examination is to know what the students know. And if the students are found wanting somewhere, probably my appeal to all my colleagues who are attending this program is that they have to proceed from positive to negative, something which they have, at least 1 or 2 points will be correct. Begin your session of feedback with that positive note, and then proceed to the areas where they require, our help for improvement in the next examination. And a good touch of the teachers or the system is to introduce eustress in students, whereas bad touch will be distress in students. Eustress, actually, the prefix eu, I think most of you will know, is nothing but a positive one. Unless and otherwise there is stress, there won't be any action. In fact, in psychology, there is a law called X-Dodson law, according to which, the levels of arousal induced by stress and levels of performance, are related, but the relationship is curvilinear. It is inverted U. That means low level of stress and high level of stress will result in low performance, whereas optimum level of stress is what results in peak performance. The students come out with the best performance which they are capable of doing only when there is some positive force which operates from within. So it is the bounden duty of the teachers to induce eustress in every student and remove distress in students. With pleasure, they'll have to learn. It must be an enjoyable activity, which is what the fourth point says. It must be a pleasurable one. Whereas, please do not, torture. This is my appeal to every one of you. Torture, even for right reasons, correct reasons, by placing them under pressure. We do not know, the situational factors. Therefore, let them learn everything with pleasure and joy. Let them not learn under extreme pressure. And learning with clear comprehension is what we need to promote, whereas rote learning is a bad touch. Many students, it is really unfortunate, just for the sake of scoring good marks, very high marks, without understanding the basic concept, they go about memorizing. In fact, memory has got three definite components, and one more component is what I'm harping on based on my experience. The first component is immediate memory. Second component is short-term memory. The third component is long-term memory. And I am harping on the concept of lifelong memory. So most of the students resorting to rote learning because of the bad touch, will somehow try to store everything in the immediate memory box. And the moment examination gets over, they, completely forget. They don't even bother to push that material from immediate memory to short-term memory zone, leave alone from short-term to long-term, and subsequently from long-term to lifelong. That learning, the effect of learning will have to proceed. And this will be possible only when there is clarity in understanding what one is learning. All right. And repeated practice in learning is a good touch, whereas inadequate practice of learning is a bad one. And the fourth point I have already covered by explaining what it is. And we will have to elicit the cooperation of guardians. And we cannot, keep ourselves from guardians. In most of the cases, it is the parents who are expected to guard their wards. And in case of the absence of parents, probably, in fact, in application form, we will ask them to mention the name of the guardian. And we will have to inform the guardians the progress of the students in such a way that guardians also cooperate with the teachers in making the students learn certain vital tasks in their career and life as such. And bad touch is communication gap with guardians. Actually, we cannot work in isolation unless and otherwise we establish good rapport with guardians and tell them how their students are progressing, how their wards are progressing, I think the effort of teachers will become futile. And good touch, we'll have to develop romance with academic discipline. But unfortunately, bad touch, students, and even worse will be faculty themselves. If you are going to develop romance with fellow human beings and other species, when I say other species, in fact, I have come across quite a few peculiar cases. I do not want to mention the names of the institution. Some of the prestigious institutions also have started sending cases of zoophilia, where students, develop romance with subhuman beings, particularly animals, and they spend their time and energy having, the romance with them, and that's a bad one. And teachers will have to deliver the goods in such a way that every student develops love for the subject, love for one's career. They should not go astray. In fact, I'd like to make a mention personal life. In fact, when I got married, my wife asked me, it's an arranged marriage. My wife asked me whether I was in love with anybody, with any of my girl students or with any of my classmates. In fact, she asked me, did you love anybody? Did you have love affair? I just laughed at her. And I said, yes, I do. It was a shock. Immediately, she asked me, where is the evidence? I said, I have got evidence for it. I have got 4 children through that lover. And she became all the more curious and to an extent furious too. And she asked me to produce the evidence. And I just rushed to my Godrej and I just pulled out my degree certificates. And the moment I showed her BA in psychology, MA in psychology, MPhil in psychology, PhD in psychology, 4 children, BA, MA, MPhil, and PhD. Now, do you know who my lover is? She laughed at me and she said, you can continue your romantic relationship with her. So, this sort of, romance, this sort of love we need to develop with our academic discipline. It's a good touch, whereas the other one is a bad one. And there must be optimal use of electronic and other media for progress in career. But unfortunately, we now see maximum abuse of electronic and other media, which create destructive conflicts. Well, again, I'd like to make a mention here of Saint Thiruvalluvar and another genius, Confucius, on good touch in education. Thiruvalluvar says, let us learn without any blemish, and whatever we may learn, let us practice so that our conduct be worthy of our learning. Confucius says, I hear and I forget. I see and I remember. I do and I understand. I think you can very well make out the meaning. If you hear, you are hearing and you may forget my words. That's why I have come out with the PPT, and you can see again and again and again, and you will remember some of the points that I touch upon in my presentation. But only when you put that into practice will you start understanding the points all the more clearly. So said Confucius. Okay, what are the outcomes of good touch and bad touch? Good touch, gives feelings of comfort and security, whereas bad touch produces discomfort and insecurity. Good touch helps us maintain health, whereas bad touch produces illness. In fact, these days we come across so many cases of psychosomatic problems. In fact, people say that no, cardiac cases are going up alarmingly. No, in fact, we see very many grandchildren are accompanied by grandparents. Once upon a time, grandchildren bring grandparents to the cardiac clinics, but now grandparents bring their grandchildren to the cardiac clinics, and it is because of intense distress which is converted into various ailments, and even the cardiovascular system is not spared. To that extent, illness has taken over the wellness. It's because of the bad touch in education. And good touch will ensure suitable employability, whereas bad touch in education produces underemployment or inappropriate employment. So, in fact, I would say we are producing unemployable graduates because of very many reasons. It is just not unemployable graduates, unmanageable graduates also. In course of time, they become unmanageable too. So marriageability, marriage is an institution. Please don't think that I am imposing my value on those who have no other opinion. In fact, I don't want to go into details, but all that I would like to say as a social scientist is that society, I think, will remain healthy and happy if you can protect marriage as an institution. All right. Whereas bad touch will result in destructive interpersonal conflicts. That's why we have a lot of issues with our own kith and kin because we have not been educated properly. Those who are truly educated, I think, will not pick up quarrels for even trivial reasons. And peace is an outcome of good touch, whereas lack of peace is the outcome of bad touch. And progress in career and life definitely will be assured by good touch, whereas work-life imbalance is an outcome of bad touch. Overall prosperity is because of good touch. Fragmented prosperity, in patches they will shine. That's because of bad touch. Prosocial behavior is an outcome of good touch. Antisocial behavior is because of bad touch. Altruism is the technical term that we generally give for prosocial behavior, whereas alienation is a form of antisocial behavior. Being asocial is definitely worse than being antisocial. At least in antisocial behavior, you can correct the behavior by certain methods. But in asocial, we need to go deep into the pathology of it, and then we'll have to do something about it. Of course, it is also modifiable. We can very well make people social. At policy and practice level, probably good touch and bad touch is what I'd like to say. We cannot help but to accept the fact that economic reforms have made the entire world highly commercial. Let it be. But commerce plus morality is good touch. Commerce without morality is a bad touch. There is always a moral code to whatever we do. Commercialization, high commercialization, which is a byproduct of corporatization, has resulted in high degree of criminalization and victimization. Therefore, as educationists, we should make sure that commerce plus morality should be imbibed in the students. And knowledge plus character is good touch. Knowledge minus character is bad touch. We are all keen on producing intellectual giants, but unfortunately moral dwarfism is a byproduct. And politics plus principles. Professor Abdul Kalam kept saying throughout his life, he wanted students to join politics because he was talking about developmental politics. So somewhere I think the leader in every student will have to be activated, and we can produce good leaders with healthy principles. Whereas politics minus principles particularly hopping on dehumanity, I think is a bad touch. And pleasure, we can enjoy pleasure, but with conscience. Pleasure plus conscience is a good touch. Pleasure minus conscience is a bad touch. And all of us are science oriented, but there must be a touch of humanity. Science without humanity is a bad touch. In fact, we result in, in Tamil we say humanity is Manishatvam, Manidatvam. But if a Mani Tattvatam Podetavara, Manidatvam completa Mahanji Pochi. And work plus wealth is a good touch. Work, wealth without work is a bad touch. Worship plus sacrifice is a good touch, whereas worship minus sacrifice is a bad touch. In fact, these 7 factors I have taken from Mahatma Gandhi, who has talked about 7 deadly social sins. Well, what are the causes of good touch and what are the causes of bad touch? I'll first say bad touch. In fact, we talk about 6, strong enemies who operate from within. First one is kamam, second one is krodham, third one is lobham, fourth one is moham, fifth one is madam, sixth one is matsaryam. By kamam, we mean lust. By krodham, we mean anger. By lobham, we mean greed. By moham, we mean attachment. By madam, we mean arrogance or pride or conceit. And by matsaryam, we mean jealousy or envy. So these are the 6 which propel us to go for bad touch. On the positive side, there can be kamam, but it must be for social welfare. Desire is good, is very much required. But when that desire becomes over-ambition, from ambition to over-ambition, from over-ambition to avarice, I think it becomes a bad touch. I should be successful is a good touch, but I alone should be successful is a bad touch. All right. And anger, krodham, though has got 1 or 2 positive components, by nature, it is highly destructive. It's a very strong negative emotion. But unfortunately, these days, we produce unmanageable and unmarriageable students. That's because of intense frustration they go through in their career. That has to be avoided. That has to be sublimated. That's why we teach them the art of forgiveness, and also let them be assertive. Let them not be aggressive. Let them not be submissive. So there must be ambition for career progress, but it should not lead to greed. And let there be realistic attachment, and let us move away, keep ourselves away from delusional attachment. And let there be majesty and magnanimity in doing socially useful activities devoid of arrogance. And we should teach our students the act of chivalry by appreciating the professional service by others instead of developing jealousy or envy. Well, what is it that how can we promote good touch? I say, be aware of your strengths and develop them by making full use of opportunities. We always say do SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and challenges, so that good touch will be promoted, and bad touch will be prevented by becoming aware of weaknesses and minimize them with conscious efforts. And good touch, do professional service with positive reinforcement of desirable behavior, whereas bad touch, you reduce socioeconomic inequalities for prevention of inferiority complex. Good touch, you project positive models for remaining morally upright and effective management of self, whereas for bad touch prevention, you sublimate sexual and anger-provoking thoughts through counseling. To promote good touch, you practice healthy lifestyle, whereas prevention of bad touch can be done by transcending to the higher levels. Ultimate outcomes of good touch is that progress in career and life, prosperity, peace, health, happiness, and harmony. And we are coming to the fag end of my presentation. In fact, I'd like to quote T.S. Eliot's words. He has said, "Where is the wisdom we have lost in knowledge? Where is the knowledge we have lost in information?" It's an information era. You and I are not at all required for disseminating information, because just by the click of the mouse, they can do what, they can get to know. But actually, that information should be converted into knowledge. Who is the helping agent? Undoubtedly, we the teachers. And that knowledge should, in course of time, be converted into wisdom. So, in fact, we'll have to make our students wise, not otherwise. All right. My own observation, come fervent appeal through a couple of questions as above. Where is the intuition? Where is the intuition we have lost in wisdom? In fact, there is one more step we can proceed further beyond Eliot's words, that wisdom should be converted into intuition. Shall we get intuition back through good touch in education? That intuition is what actually makes us function sometimes at super normal level. With that, my presentation has come to an end. By my clock, it is 3 minutes before 10 o'clock, 3 minutes to 10 o'clock, 9:57, and till 10:30, I think we have time. Shall we?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, we'll go for a healthy interaction now.
So, dear participants, if you have any questions, request you to ask the professor.
I think I have got some queries in the chat box. How to develop quality of good teaching in new education policy? I mean, good touch. I think new education policy, I think we are yet to put into action, and it is only at the policy level. I think there can be one or two hiccups, but in fact, to be very frank with you, I'm yet to become fully aware of what is there in new education policy. Probably my guess is that from knowledge orientation, it has to be made skill orientation. In fact, it is just not enough if you are going to remain knowledgeable alone. From knowledge should emerge the skills. So meaningful skills will have to emerge from the knowledge. That's why we teachers are there as facilitating agents. It is just not the academic skills, para-academic skills like social skills, especially developing cordial relationship with fellow human beings. When I say fellow human beings, I mean students in the first place. Students should not be scared of the teachers. In fact, if students are behaving aggressively, it's a sign of feeling of insecurity. Why are they aggressive? Why do they think that offense is the best form of defense? That's because of the innate feeling of insecurity. So clear that feeling of insecurity so that they become assertive, they become friendly, develop friendly relationship. And it is one of the important social skills that we need to develop. Academic skills, again, let me tell you again and again, one can pick up through the well-structured curriculum, but maintaining good human relations is equally important. I think I have answered that query, except David, who comes out with a radiant smile on his face.
I have another question, sir. Can I?
Yeah, please.
The bad touch has evolved, like for the past so many years. These people who are involved in bad touch, they have evolved themselves. Like, how do they approach the people, sir? How do they approach like the victims? From your view, what is how do they do it?
Because they take they make the best use of the situation, because victims, they perceive as helpless individuals. for the sake of the degree they have come to us. Almost the perception of these culprits is that the victims are perceived as slaves, so they can be exploited. Instead of teaching them the academics, the subject matter. In fact, this fellow has got that bad uh, trait in him. I said no, calmum crodum. That calmum and crodum, Sigmund Freud has overemphasized the role of sex. So it is because of the sexual conflict which the culprits have in themselves, they just carry it over the gullible victims. Not all students are gullible. They pick and choose the ones who are gullible, who are actually can be victimized very easily. Their personality is as unstable as the personality of the culprits. Probably, in my view, the culprits might have been victims once upon a time earlier. That is why that pent-up emotion is brought out on them. So once a victim can become a culprit.
Sir,
Yes.
this is Murugan. Professor, is there any possibility to inculcate moral values or moral values in the engineering or medical students in the curriculum? In the curriculum aspect, I am asking.
First of all, I doubt very much. Even if it exists, I do not know whether it is given due respect as it has to be given. Maybe it exists only on paper.
Paper.
And
Yes.
we should see that students practice whatever they so dearly learn, dearly within inverted commas. In fact, it is given stepmotherly treatment. And we don't check whether students follow that. If they follow, I think the world of commercialization, there won't be any victims.
The
But one
question
thing,
is
yeah, please do.
how to develop staff development equal to quality NEP policy.
Equal to
NEP, that is National Education Policy. Again, Revati Madam, she's asking
please come again. In fact, I didn't get the
how
operative
to
part.
how to develop, how to she's put it like this: how to staff development equal to quality NEP policy. I think she's trying to.
Some ambiguity is there. But anyway, please repeat the question. Let me see.
She wants to know, like, from the NEP policies, will there be any kind of staff development?
Okay. In fact, staff development these days is based on their research publications for career progress. This is something which I wanted to discuss, but I soft pedaled consciously because, in my personal opinion, teaching and research do not go hand in hand. Teaching demands width, research demands depth. In teaching, you should know something of everything, whereas in research, it is everything of something. And if no staff should be developed, I mean, staff development one can ensure only when there are two wings in every department. One wing will concentrate on teaching. They should not be pressurized to do research. No, they will concentrate, if not exclusively on teaching, but primarily they should concentrate only on teaching. Whereas the other wing will be devoted for research, and they will concentrate on research. Once in a blue moon, they can come and share their findings. And at least for 5 long years, in fact, we should not disturb them. After 5 years, there can be a transfer, smooth transfer from research wing to teaching wing and teaching wing to research wing, so that the quality of teaching will go up, quality of research will go up, because in my own laboratory, I have found multitasking is next to impossible. Teaching demands certain set of activities. It is just not going and talking something relevantly or irrelevantly. Facing students, I think, requires lot of preparation. Believe me or not, David, You know, even now, if I am to make a presentation, formal presentation, in front of students or in front of learned audience like you, I go for 3 rounds of preparation. Professor Murugan will agree with me. When did I send my PPT? A week ago. But I started my preparation a fortnight ago. I just went on and on and on, collecting information, organizing it in the first place. Second place, I edited. Third one, before I appear on the screen, I made a dress rehearsal last night. All right.
Yes. Yes, Professor. Right.
And then now I am facing you. So whether it is for 1 hour session or 1.5 hour session, and mind you, in the University of Madras, in fact, we'll be given 3 hours. That too, psychology is such a unique subject. Sometimes we'll have to take them to the lab, and from lab to the lecture hall, and eventually onto the field. All right. So that requires 3 hours without a wink of sleep. No, we'll go about doing our job. And it is just not preparation and teaching, but evaluation. Evaluation is the toughest component of teaching. Students will come and ask for marks. Sir, why did you, actually take away that half a mark? I vividly remember one Anuradha, a top-ranking student, fighting with me like anything because she always would get first mark, but unfortunately, Ashwini, equally brilliant, got half a mark more. This girl got 14.5 on 20. She got 15 on 20. My good heavens, she started following me wherever I went. And luckily, my gender permitted me to enter the washroom because she cannot enter the washroom. And I was there in the washroom nearly for half an hour, holding on to my breath. And after half an hour, I thought she would have gone away, and she was wiser than me. She hid herself behind a pillar, and the moment I stepped out of the washing room, she caught me red-handed and continued from the point where she had left. Sir, why? Ashwini got half a mark more. I said, come on, Anu, 14.5 will become 15. And you and Ashwini will sail in the same boat. No, sir. Why that half a mark she has got more? In fact, both of them came out with the same points. Don't say her handwriting is better than mine. It is highly subjective. The more she argued with me, the more firm did I become. I said, come on, I will not correct. I will not make it 15. At least had she been polite, I might have. But I saw to it that no, it remained 14.5. But when I entered the marks in the system, it became 15. She wasn't convinced. See, giving feedback is so crucial. Some people commit suicide. And finally, we, the staff members, are portrayed as the culprits. We need to be very careful. Sometimes they may even go for false allegation against us, so and so, and they looked at me, romantically. And we men need to be all the more careful. I don't say that we won't come out with all these false accusations, but somewhere I think, teaching is definitely not as easy as it appears. So many activities go with teaching. For research, review of literature, finding the gaps, and then designing our investigation, coming out with correct result design, framing the hypothesis, collecting data, and analyzing the data, and finally writing the report. Unreported research is as bad as not doing research. So research remains incomplete. And where do you find time? So to answer directly, I say that, staff development should be on these lines. Don't disturb the staff when they teach with lot of queries for paper publication. And international referee, my good heavens, editorial bias is there. Though it is a single blind or double blind review system, some of the reviewers, they get thoroughly disappointed if you are not going to mention their name in references. Immediately our paper will get rejected. So a lot of issues go with it. Okay. Okay, David, I think it is 10:28. I bid goodbye to all of you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. So we have come to the end of day 3, session 1 by Dr. V.D. Swaminathan, professor, retired professor from University of Madras on the topic good touch and bad touch in education. Thank you very much, sir. Sir Murugan, sir.
Thank you, Professor, for your wonderful session.
Thank you. I wish I could meet all of you in the lecture hall.
Yes.
I'll pull every one of you by your collar
Yes.
and I'll bring out the scholar from you.
Okay.
I am looking forward to that opportunity.
Maybe in the next semester we are conducting an offline mode. That is
Okay.
physical mode. So in
Okay.
that we will invite you, Professor.
I
Definitely.
appear sober, but it's a deceptive exterior I carry.
Yes, Professor.
Okay, Professor David and Professor Murugan, thanks a lot. In fact, I expect better interaction from next time. So exactly at 10:30, I wind up my session. Thanks a lot. My special thanks to Professor Murugan, Professor David, and Professor Jnana Kumar.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor.
Welcome, welcome. Oh my goodness. Padmavati Senthil has asked one question: how to identify the area of interest in the student? Please come back to me through mail. I will answer your query, Madam Padmavati. Please raise this question to my email. I will definitely come again and I will answer your question. Okay. Okay, 10:30, over.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, dear participants. Next session will be at 11 a.m. Another half an hour will be starting the next session. So request all the participants to stay in the same link and we'll start the next session at 11 a.m. And it will be on promoting excellence in learning by Dr. Vinita Sai, Associate Professor, Amrita University, Chennai. I think she's already available here. Ma'am, can we start it at 11 a.m., ma'am? There. Okay. So the next session will start at 11 a.m. Thank you all for joining for session 1. Please continue to stay back for the session 2 as well. Thank you.